Well, hi there, food friends. It's Kevin.
And Marianne behind the camera.
And today, Mare, we are making an orange chiffon cake.
Sounds good.
So, I was in the Cavalcade cookbook library the other day, and I was going through some stuff, and I came across this. And this came out in 1948, this pamphlet. Betty Crocker Chiffon, Cake Recipes and Secrets. And there's any number of, there's probably 15 or more recipes in here for a chiffon cake. Well, before Betty Crocker told the world about the chiffon cake, no one knew about it. I heard a story that someone, a home cook, came up with this cake, and General Mills, who was behind Betty Crocker, bought the recipe. And maybe that's true, and maybe it's not, but that's what I always heard. But they really, Betty Crocker and General Mills, who made soft as silk cake flour, I think they still do, really pushed the chiffon cake as something new, because it was light like an angel food, but it had the richness of a butter cake. So you see how you're kind of getting best of both worlds? And it says, this collection of chiffon recipes is presented with pride and confidence. With pride because this cake has created the biggest kitchen news in 100 years. Okay, so I'm not being hyperbolic, folks. I am just reading Betty Crocker's quote here. And so this is the biggest cake news in 100 years. That was in 1948. But the chiffon cake has been around since then and continues to appear in cookbooks. Although I would say, Mare, that it is a cake you don't see often. Would you? I mean, when was the last time you had a chiffon cake?
A long, long time ago.
Yes, so we're going to make one, and we're making an orange version. And there's a lot on there. I want to say many years ago, probably 8 or more, I may have made a cherry chiffon cake on Cavalcade of Food. I can't even remember. But I remember making a chiffon cake before, and something tells me it was a cherry. Anyways, so here's what we have to do. We have to combine our dry ingredients and sort of sift them together. If I had a really big sifter, which I don't, I would just pour everything in the sifter. But let's start with the flour. This is 2 1/4 cups of cake flour. Sis, you cannot use all-purpose flour here, okay?
Okay.
You need cake flour.
Is cake flour lighter than all-purpose flour?
Yes, and it's made with different wheat. It's a different blend of wheat, and it's very fine, almost like a powder, okay? So, 2 1/4 cups of cake flour. Then I've got 1.5 cups of sugar. Then we got to have some baking powder. And as a matter of fact, we need 3 teaspoons of baking powder.
Or you could just put in a tablespoon. Is that the same thing?
I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. Okay? Then we need salt. Just 1 teaspoon. Just regular table salt. All right. Then what I'm going to do, let me get a whisk here. Let me just I'm going to kind of stir all that stuff together in the bowl. Okay. Now that that's all sort of mixed, we want to sift it into a large bowl. So I'm going to put this in, if I can here. a sifter at a time, like I said. You know, I could have sworn I had a large sifter. Can you see what I'm doing, Mir?
Yes. I think we have a bigger sifter at home.
Maybe. This will do. I'll just have to do it in a couple steps. We're going to just sift all that together. You want that flour nice and fine. Again, you know, you think of sort of the delicate nature of a pound cake. So put the rest of the flour in here. There we go. Okay, so now that we've got our flour sifted together, what we're going to do, Mir, is we're going to make a well in the center. Like so. Okay? There's our well. Now, to the well, we're going to add a few things. Let me start by saying that this cake uses egg yolks and egg whites. It needs 5 egg yolks. It needs 1 cup of egg whites. Now, eggs are easiest to separate when they are cold, but egg whites usually whip up better at room temperature. And normally when we're baking, we like to use our ingredients at room temp, right, Mare?
Right.
So unless the recipe states otherwise, things should be at room temperature. But when I took the eggs out of the fridge, I separated them. Now, I got my 5 egg yolks and I got my cup of egg whites, but I needed 8 large eggs to get this cup of egg whites. So I had 5 egg yolks. I have 3 yolks left over. We'll figure out what to do with them, okay? Maybe we'll throw them into an omelet or something. Okay, back to our well of dry ingredients. We're going to add in this order a 1/2 cup of oil. You can use any vegetable oil here. Don't use olive oil, use vegetable oil. Corn oil would work, canola oil would work. Okay, I'm using vegetable oil. Then we're going to put in our 5 egg yolks. Then we're going to put in, where is it? 3/4 of a cup of cold water. Okay, so here's a thing where we actually are putting in a colder ingredient. And then, Mare, this is supposed to be an orange cake. So you know what? Now's the time we're going to put in our orange. I've got, 4 tablespoons of orange rind here. Probably more. This is really the rind of a large orange. We want it orangey, don't we?
Yes, we do.
We want to know it's an orange cake. So I zested a large orange, and there it is. Now what we're going to do, Mare, is we are going to mix this together. Let's see. Well, let me use this spoon. You could use a hand mixer here. I'm just doing it using a spoon. I'm going to use my stand mixer for the egg whites, but we want to mix this so that it's combined and smooth.
Can you use one of your egg beaters?
Oh, you mean like, yes,
the handheld one?
A hand crank one?
Yeah.
Sure, I could. But this is really, you can see, this is not a big chore here. it's almost not worth getting something more than a spoon dirty. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Spoon's easier to clean. Doesn't have all those nooks and crannies to clean.
Exactly. But you just want to combine this so that it's nice and smooth. Too, I think you'll find that that cake flour really blends well. You know, we've sifted it, and it's extra fine to begin with. Okay, so we're going to just set that aside. Now get your large mixing bowl here and put in your cup of egg whites. And to that cup of egg white, I'm going to put in a half of a teaspoon of cream of tartar. And Mayor, what this does is it helps provide some stability to the egg whites. So let me get in here, get a half a teaspoon cream of tartar. All right. I'm going to put this on the mixer and get it going. And while the egg whites are beating, I'll get some things cleaned up here. When you're beating your egg whites, friends, you want to beat these to very firm peaks, okay? So you want the egg whites beaten really on the stiffer side for this, okay? And this is where our hand mixer or a stand mixer really pays off and comes in handy, because it'll make quick work of beating these egg whites. So we'll let the mixer do its thing and we'll be back. Okay, very firm peaks. Okay, so that didn't take too long, did it?
No, it did not.
All right. So I'm going to take the bowl off here. Move the mixer out of the way. So now what we've got to do here, Mir, and you know what, maybe I'll use let me have a smaller spatula on standby. We're going to take our egg yolk mixture, okay, and we're going to pour it over the egg white mixture. Right over the top like this. Okay, of course we want to get all that out of there. Okay. Then we're going to fold, okay, until it's just combined. So we know what folding is, right, Mira?
Yeah.
It's not stirring. It's going down to the bottom and pulling up and folding over, and at the same time rotating the bowl down, over, down, over. We are folding. Okay? If we were to stir this, Mare, you know what would happen?
The cake would fall?
Yes, the egg whites would kind of deflate. And we don't want that. We just went through all that trouble beating those egg whites. We want to incorporate the egg batter into the beaten egg whites until it's just combined, and we want to do it as gently as possible. So I think our natural impulse is to just, get it all stirred up until it's combined, and a lot of times that's right, but not with this kind of a cake. And If there's a little patch of white here and there, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Don't worry about it. But you want to get it mostly mixed. You don't want any big chunks of egg white. So if you've got a big chunk in the middle, I wish this bowl was a little wider, it'd make it easier. Just go down through the center and gently pull up and fold over. Now waiting in the wings mirror is a 10-inch tube pan. Some people call that an angel food cake pan. That's a tube pan, and yes, it's the same pan used in an angel food cake. And we are going to put this batter in there. It is, you'll notice it is not greased, and we're not going to grease it. Normally when we make cake, we spray the pan, don't we?
Yes.
Or, you know, grease it in some kind of way with butter or whatever, shortening. We're not doing that. You know why?
Because you want it to rise?
Yes, we want this to climb. We want it to climb up the sides of this pan. And we don't, if you got grease on there, it's going to keep sliding. So we do it ungreased. Now, I'll tell you in advance from experience, that means, you know what, cleanup isn't as breezy with the pan as it would be with a pan that has been greased. But toots, sometimes you got to pay the price to get what you want. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
And so, in this case, we are going to leave the pan ungreased. Okay, in we go. By the way, the oven is preheated to 325 degrees. And this cake is going to cook, or bake, I should say, for about 55 minutes to an hour. It smells good, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
I'm glad we put all that orange in there. Okay. Clean. Get all this off. Get it all in there. Okay. In it goes. Center rack in the middle. Set the timer for about 55 minutes and we'll be back. Orange chiffon cake. So sis, it's been almost an hour and we are going to take it out. And, you know, you want to make sure it springs back when you give it a gentle little touch.
Okay.
And it does. And there it is. How about that?
Looks good.
Now, we have to cool this cake completely. And we need to cool it inverted. Okay?
Okay.
So you see these little legs on the pan?
Yes.
That's actually what they're made for. You can just put it like that.
Okay.
But I like to elevate it a little further, so I find a wine bottle works pretty good. A full one. Okay.
So it won't tip over.
Yeah, so it won't tip over. Exactly. So we're going to let that cool completely, and then we'll get it out of the pan. And you can do a lot. You know, it's a cake, so you can make any kind of frosting you want. You can make a glaze. You can make an icing. I think I'm just going to make a simple icing for this cake.
Okay.
And let the cake do the talking. But we'll worry about that once we get the cake is cooled and we have it out of the pan. All right, sis. So it's been 2 hours. The cake is totally cooled. Here's what you want to do. Take it off the bottle or flip it back right side up. Either use something like a spatula, or if you have a really thin knife, Mare, this will work. And remember, we didn't spray the pan, right?
Right.
So we want to just go around, and then you got to get the inside also where the tube is. So we're going to just go around the tube and just get it loosened up. Okay. Now these pans have a removable bottom. You know what I mean, Mare?
Yes.
So we're going to, there we go. We're going to do this. We're going to lift it out. Okay? There's the cake. So you can see what happened on the inside. A little bit of areas where we stuck, but I think we did okay. Now you can decide what part of the cake you want to be the top. Okay? I normally have it this way. Okay? With this cake, this part of the cake being the top. So I want to get it off the bottom piece, but what we have to do here, Mare, is we have to do the same thing. We have to take our knife and get it under the cake. And just, again, we didn't grease it, so we want to just go between the edge and that tube and just release. Can you smell the orange?
Yes, I can.
That's what I'm talking about. There we go. Okay, now it's loose, I can see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip and then reflip, okay? So we'll do like this. And then we'll do like that. Okay, that's how we go. So now we have our chiffon cake. Look at that, Mare. That's a tall cake, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So you have the height and sort of the majesty, if I can say, of an angel food, and yet when we get into it, we're going to have sort of the richness of a butter cake. So, you know, here, if you wanted a little preview, oh yeah, yep, that orange comes through. Nice. All right. Now, it's up to you what you want to do at this point. You can frost this cake. You can make an icing, make a glaze, leave it plain.
Put powdered sugar on top.
Excellent, yes. Dust it with powdered sugar. You know, it's really up to you how you want to do it. To me, putting a big frosting on this, Mare, is kind of gilding the lily a little bit. You know what I mean? But I do want to make a glaze to sort of just drizzle over it.
Okay.
And so remember the orange that I used to get off all the orange zest to
Yep.
flavor the cake? I didn't get a lot, but I squeezed what juice I could. It wasn't a juicing orange. I squeezed what juice I had. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of powdered sugar in this bowl. And let's start with it's a pretty big cake. So I'm going to start with maybe about 1.5 cups of powdered sugar. And then I'm going to add my orange juice a little at a time. and just kind of whisk it smooth. And I'm going to make an orange glaze. So I'm going to do that. We'll come on back and we'll put this cake together, our orange chiffon cake. All right, Mare. I've kind of whisked up the little bit of glaze here. So, I end up using all the orange juice, but we were talking about it. If it's too thin, we just add a little more powdered sugar, right?
Right.
And if it's too thick,
add more juice, or if you don't have enough juice, add a little bit of water.
Yeah, a little bit of water, a liquid. So I kind of got it to where I want it, and I'm going to just sort of spoon this on the top like so. I didn't want it too runny. Because you want it to kind of harden up, which it will do as it dries. So I think it adds a little nice texture to the top. Covers up some of the cracks that are natural from when it bakes. So I'm going to finish icing this, and then we're going to come back and we are slicing into it. Well, what do we think? We are going to cut. The glaze isn't quite dried yet. And I'm going to slice down into this cake, Mare. And pull out. First pieces always can be a little tricky. But we're going to, there we go. Look at that. Can you get in on that? Do you see? Look at that cake, Mare. Look how tender that is. And you see all those little flecks of orange? Oh my gosh, is that good. Light, like an angel. It has the lightness of an angel food, but you still have a body with the egg yolk batter. And then you get a little tease, a little sweet from that glaze I put on it. You want to try?
After.
Okay. Because Ralph would have had to have a piece right now. So, but wow. Why aren't we doing more chiffon cakes, folks? These are the bomb. So good. And I'm glad I came across that old booklet. Really good. So here's a cake that takes a little time. It's not a hard cake to make, but you need an hour to bake, and you need a couple hours to cool, and then to do whatever you want to do with it. Glaze it, frost it, whatever. But I'm going to tell you what. You bring this out after dinner, and your guests will take notice. And it's just a cake that we just don't see very often. And it's a shame, because it's really a wonderful cake. So, thank you, Marianne, for working the camera.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. And we appreciate you. Remember, the website is cavalcadeoffood.com. And the recipe will be in the description below the video. And please share and like and subscribe if you're into what we're doing here at Cavalcade of Food. And until we see you again, stay well and make yourself a chiffon cake. And we'll see you again right back here on Cavalcade of Food. Until then, take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.